Welcome to Conversations with Kay. I'm Kay Ryder. And every week I talk with Vermonters who are leaders in the fields of government, healthcare, education, the arts, and community life. And welcome to our guests, our radio guests, 99.3 FM, WVBT LP. And it broadcasts at 9:30 on Sunday mornings. Our guest is Rob Meehan, and Rob is the director of Feeding Chittenden. Welcome back.
Thanks, Kay. Thanks for having me back.
Well, always good to have my old friends in the nonprofit world back. I love to talk with you.
Likewise.
Yeah. I like your new name, Rob, Feeding Chittenden.
Thanks. It was really a community effort to rename.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really says what you do.
Yeah, being Chittenden Emergency Food Shelf for 45 years, something to tip your cap and say good work. But really, emergency food was very confusing. The fact that we're much more than a food pantry is confusing, and we feel we needed to really make a move to tell people who we are and what we're doing.
Well, I love it. Feeding is an active word, and that's what you do.
Yeah,
that's
thanks,
really
Kay.
what you do. Where is Feeding Chittenden located?
So we're in Burlington. We're at 228 North Winooski in the Old North End.
Okay. How long have you been director, Rob?
It's been about 12 years, and we've gone through a lot of changes in all that time. And we're really determined right now to make sure that we can continue to keep up the demand of feeding families that are hungry in this entire county.
Approximately how many people do you serve during a year, do you know?
Sure, yeah. So again, we have several different programs, but in our flagship program, which is our food pantry, we served last year over 12,000 people.
Wow.
And if you look at just particular visits, that's over 53,000 turnstile visits, people coming in, and we have a small group of advocates that tries to, take care of all those visitors on an ongoing basis.
Great.
It changes during different times of the year with, there's different needs for families and people who are homeless, people with disabilities.
Do you have a lot of requests during the holiday season? I mean, the end of the year.
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is a busy time for hunger relief across the country. It's good and bad. It's good that we get to raise awareness around hunger relief, but it's unfortunate that the weather changes here in the Northeast and people are dealing with some hardships with heat costs as well as challenges if you don't have housing.
Right.
It's a hard place to live without a home. Right,
absolutely. I'm talking with Rob Meehan, and Rob is the executive director, or the director, he says, of Feeding Chittenden. Are more and more folks needing help now?
Sure, yeah. Just last year, looking at numbers, we had a 30% increase in service. One of the things we're doing, Kay, is we're really trying to change charitable food. So rather than having people just come to a location, usually in a neighborhood that's lower income, to wait in line to receive groceries, we're trying to bring food to where people live and really change that paradigm. And we have some programs that are doing that to increase food access.
We're going to talk about all your programs. You have great programs, Rob. Just great programs. For somebody wherever they are, they're great programs. Where would someone call for information or to talk, to ask for help? And I know you have a great website.
Sure, you can always find us online, feedingchittenden.org. The local phone number is 658-7939. And sometimes we have a frustrating phone system to get through to an actual human because people are so busy actually helping others. So oftentimes people get frustrated, and that's something we're trying to change. But there's a lot of strange challenges that we have.
Well, a lot of nonprofits, like you say, they're busy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of need out there. And if someone calls, it takes a while sometimes before you pick up the phone.
Sure.
But I assume, you have these great systems where you can talk and leave a message, leave your telephone number, and somebody will get back to you.
You got it. I wish it was as easy as just gathering food and delivering food, but there's so much more to building capacity for nonprofits like us. And we're proud to be part of a network of sister nonprofits in this area that are doing amazing things for each other and for neighbors.
Yeah, right. Now, if someone calls, I assume if someone calls and they talk with someone, or someone walks in the door and needs assistance, that whatever they say is absolutely confidential.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We respect confidentiality, and people come every day, Kay. You know, we see between 300 and 600 people, depending on the time of year. And there's a small group of us, 14 people, that are trying to, move a lot of food, because we move 2 million pounds of food through that facility in a year, but also try to work to make sure that we're improving the lives of people and making a real impact. So we have people that are doing actual social work on site, helping people sign up for 3 Squares Vermont, which is formerly food stamps, for help with housing, for help with transportation, and helping to pay with back rent and other things through some of our friends at Community Action.
Right now, if someone comes in and asks for food, I assume that you have criteria. Not just anybody can come in and get food, right?
Yeah, there's eligibility requirements based on 185% of poverty, which is really similar to the WIC program. So most everyone we serve is qualified for federal nutrition programs. The frustrating part, Kay, is that those programs are either being cut, proposed to be cut, or are underutilized. And advocates here in Vermont, but also across the nation, fight hard to try to make sure that we utilize that program. There are people who I'm like-minded with who believe the onus should be shifted to government, and that we take advantage of our safety net programs like the food stamp program, which actually can end hunger. And there's a lot of voices saying that, and have evidence. In our country, when there was the New Deal, we didn't have hunger as pervasive as we do today. So it's not rocket science, and that there's a lack of political will, and obviously that's a Pandora's box at this time in our history. But we're hopeful that if we stay, true to ourselves and persistent with trying to align with others that can help feed each other, that there won't be hungry children in Chittenden County as there are today.
I mentioned that some programs are underutilized, and this is because people don't know about them. Is that part of it?
Well, there's a lot of barriers. Sometimes it's eligibility because you own a car or some familial situation. It depends. The rules change often. But sometimes it's people feel the process is too rigorous or demeaning. There's a lot of barriers. You can go on and on. But the worst part of the story is that there are congressional cuts proposed that will impact millions in America, that we're just taking the food literally out of babies' mouths. And with all the Twitter noise, all the noise, we're kind of losing some of our basics of safety net and why that's important. And back to what we're doing there is we're trying to strengthen the community. It really matters. If you can get more food stamp dollars into Vermont, that money goes into local economy, so it helps everyone. It also helps to have children be able to concentrate in school because they're not hungry. It's common sense work, but we really need to be more boisterous in getting the word out.
Now, Janet Mutt, who ran the maternal child health program at the VNA for years, she always said, people can't learn in school. Little folks can't learn in school if they come in hungry. And it's just that simple, isn't it? It sounds so simple.
It does.
But it isn't.
Right.
We who worked in the nonprofit world, we know that it's not. It's just not that simple at all. So if someone comes into the Feeding Chittenden, how much food can they get a week?
Yeah, so people can come, families can come 2 times a month for, basically we try to have a 5-day allotment of groceries, and it's constantly changing. It's a real mixed bag of groceries and prepared meals that we make, and as well as fresh produce and fresh bread from local bakeries. There's a whole mix of different items that people can choose from.
When is the food shelf actually open?
Yeah, so we're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 each day. During the holidays, there's special hours, and again, we bring food to people's homes, so through our homebound delivery program. So that program's happening throughout the county, as well as our food truck, which not only brings community meals throughout the county, but also brings a trailer, the Good Food trailer, that brings groceries sometimes, as well as produce and bread and other things.
Well, I know that on the weekend, my church in Burlington, the First Congregational Church, we have a program called Small Potatoes, and that's open every Saturday morning, and people can come there and get food for the and help on the weekend.
That's right.
So that's good too.
Yeah, and we partnered with Paul Hood, who was one of the founders of Feeding Chittenden 45 years ago, and for many, many years we worked with Paul on supplying eggs and other goodies for Small Potatoes, and he was a champion for hunger.
Oh yeah, some people in the church have volunteered there for years on this, and it's it's a great thing. It really is. I'm talking with Rob Meehan, and he's the executive director, or the director, he says, of Feeding Chittenden. Nice to have you back, Rob.
Yeah, thank you.
So people can get, you mentioned you also deliver food to homes now.
We have a wonderful coordinator named Nassé from France, who is a woman who delivers groceries to people's homes who are homebound. And she doesn't just drop food off, she spends time with people, visits, tries to find out if they're getting other help from referral agencies such as VNA. Making sure that other people's needs are met, or other needs are met. And so she's just a wonderful woman, and it's an amazing program.
Yeah. Well, when I was working at the VNA, we used to say that during the course of, if someone's homebound, during the course of a day, so they may see a VNA, someone from the VNA, and someone from Meals on Wheels.
Sure.
And it's very important. Of course, the nurses were very, very busy, and physical therapists and all those people.
Sure.
However, they always told me they found time to talk with people.
I agree. Teachers are also out there as hunger fighters throughout communities. They see which kids could benefit from help, and they're always reaching out to us and asking what ways can they help. A big community of help out there with teachers.
Right. Actually, when you think about it, you think about the agencies involved in helping people, but there are a lot of other people who are contact people.
Yeah.
And they know who, if the kid comes in and that the kid is hungry, then they know about it.
You got it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really good that we have those people. Yeah. Do you serve hot meals at your building?
Sure. We have one of the foremost soup kitchens in Vermont, just because where we're located, we're in Chittenden County, which is really a large population, really diverse. So we have a lot of folks who are homeless, living without a roof, sometimes in a vehicle or in camps, that come 7 days a week for meals. Our food truck brings meals to locations where there's deep poverty. There's some transitional housing, for example, that where we bring meals that is really impactful.
Right now, can anyone come to the hot meal?
Yep, the free meals are just that. We don't ask for ID or anything like that, and you're not seeing a real mixed population as much as we would even like. You're mostly seeing people that are really marginalized and living in really tough situations. It's not like a community meal that would have a mix of all economic.
Right.
Status.
Right now, do you have breakfast and dinner, or?
Nope. We just serve a breakfast, sort of a brunch, all kinds of food, but it is only in the morning times.
Okay. All right. When can someone come to get this meal? What are the hours?
It's early, 6:30 to 9:30. So that's Monday through Friday, and then there are some different hours that people can find on our website for the weekends. Is some of the programs at UVM help us, as well as some church groups, and it depends on time of year that those change.
Now that's great that UVM helps. Is this program of the university, or are the students running it?
Both. For a long time, UVM Salvage program has been around for many, many years, and that's student run, as well as campus kitchens, which I was on one of the committee that kind of brought that to the area, which is a really cool program that the people from UVM, the students, gather food throughout UVM dining and bring it down and feed community members. It's really great.
This is food that like fruit and bread and things like that, maybe left over from a meal. It
Yep.
never got touched, never got.
Yeah, you got it. As well as creating eggs and other things to go with the things that they gather. So they're there cooking and repurposing food, which is a big part of what we do. Food rescue is about that. You're rescuing food that would otherwise be wasted. So there's an environmental component to our work too. Strengthening community doesn't only mean helping the actual person in front of you. It can be strengthening our environment, composting, etc.
Right now, tell our audience a little bit more about this Good Food Truck.
Sure. Yeah, so we started the Good Food Truck about 5 years ago. The idea was to have a social enterprise component to our work, so we could try to raise a little dough to help pay bills, but also bring community meals out to people in other areas and impact food access in a great way. The third component was trying to use the truck as a workforce development component. So we would take people from our culinary job training program, put them on the truck, and go to like an art hop event or something like that. And actually the student would then gain experience on the job as part of their training in Community Kitchen Academy that we have.
What you are actually, the Good Food Truck actually does go to sites where people need food too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and locally, Harbor Place and Beacon Apartments and places where there's a lot of transitional housing and some deep poverty, super impactful and meaningful work is happening with our coordinators as well as volunteers.
Well, there are certainly a lot of places in Chittenden County where the truck could go. How do you decide where to send the Good Food Truck?
It's been expanding since we started. So right this time, there's 6 sites, including mobile home parks, large areas of low-income housing based on where need is. We'd like to be everywhere, but it's a capacity problem.
Right.
But I can tell you what we have learned is that we look at results-based accountability. We can actually point to how people are better off. People will tell us that they've tried foods they've never tried before. They're using healthy, locally sourced food on the truck too, I should mention. And people are experiencing access to foods that are otherwise too expensive or just not available. So we're hearing that community is being formed by people coming to the truck. It's some sort of a party atmosphere. It's not a have to wait in a line in a poor neighborhood and cross that threshold to ask for help, which is very hard sometimes to fight that stigma with asking for help.
Yeah.
For example, I'll have out-of-work construction worker come and say to me, hey, how does this work, Rob? And I'll say, it's cool, just come in, it's going to be fine. And they can't swallow that pride, and I'll see them just walk away, and we can't reach that person because there's still a stigma attached to what we're trying to do. And what we're trying to say is, if we could shift that onus back to government, we wouldn't have to be having that stigma conversation at all. It's something for people to contemplate, not just as a charitable, compassionate viewpoint, but as how do you actually strengthen community? And one way to do that is to make sure that your community members aren't hungry.
Yeah.
Because food should be a right.
Yeah, I'm talking with Rob Meehan. He's the director of Feeding Chittenden, and he's been my guest several times over the years. It's nice to have him back. It really is amazing, isn't it, that people, the pride factor. Years ago, we used to have, the county used to give out funds to people. We have county homes and all this stuff, which were terrible places, I guess. But during if I read my history right, during during the time of the 30s, a lot of people were having problems. And people, they didn't have this feeling that, not me, I don't need this help. And now, despite the great needs, people sort of have that. Why do you think that is?
For many reasons, but we are at a time where we're very divided, and we're kind of embracing that divide. And again, history will show us that's not a great thing, especially if you're looking to strengthen communities. So again, as part of our job, we need to try to be proactive to turn that around. So one way we think we can do that is to talk about what this is And I haven't met anybody that said, no, there should be hungry children. I haven't met that person.
You wouldn't meet them, would you?
You wouldn't meet them. So,
No.
But there are hungry kids right here
yeah.
in this town, and anybody who's listening in your town, because that's what's happening throughout Vermont, and we need to change that.
I'm always astounded. I mean, I think of Vermont as a warm and fuzzy place.
Right.
I mean, maybe I'm just hanging out with warm and fuzzy people.
Yeah, I bet you are.
Probably I am. Anyway, I hope my friends are watching this. Anyway, no, I mean, you do. You have the feeling that the people care about the community and they want to do things, and yet these stats are out there.
But they absolutely do care, and you're right. I mean, you mentioned church groups before who actually formed agencies like ours. When they were overwhelmed, didn't know who to turn to. They turned to community action agencies and others. You have civic groups that are just coming at us with wanting to help. So there's a lot of help and a lot of desire to help. I think we're a little bit shell-shocked at the moment. And that's something that we have to just try to address, whatever kind of traumas we're experiencing, as well as the people with lived experience who we're trying to help, and try to come together more.
Yeah. You have a great thing called the Community Kitchen Program. Now, why did you just decide to start this, Rob?
Yeah, so more than 10 years ago now, we had to turn the lights off after the soup kitchen was over, and I looked and said, this doesn't make sense, And there was a group in Waitsfield making flatbread pizza, and they were using their restaurant to prepare their food, and they're sending it out. We should do the same thing. So I reached out to the food bank, and they had a program called Community Kitchen, and I said, what if we joined forces? And we did, and still today the food bank and Feeding Chittenden run Community Kitchen Academy. So we have people with lived experience join for a 12 to 13 week program with a chef who teaches all kinds of amazing college credit from cooking methods to serve safe training to all kinds of really amazing stuff. But what we noticed was, yes, we were getting people involved with us, people were getting jobs, but the engagement of our work changed. And there was a shift there that was really radical and cool, in that it wasn't, I have this and you don't. There all of a sudden was a we. And that's the biggest change I could say about Community Kitchen Academy. It's wonderful that people are finding employment. It's even more powerful that we're seeing insight into ways we can work together on a common problem.
Right now, how is Feeding Chittenden funded, Rob?
Pretty much 100% grassroots, locally funded, so it's from our neighbors. We have some grant foundation support, we have some United Way money support, but really it's this community that sees this work as important. And it's getting harder and harder to continue to go to that well and ask our neighbors to step up, when we really believe that government should play a role as well, and they frankly are not.
Well, we have a situation where a lot of human services are being cut.
Yes.
For one reason or another, in healthcare, in feeding our citizens, and in help with housing for people. And we also have what I call silo mentality. We talk to people we know, we watch news programs that support what we think about. I like Rachel Maddow. Not everybody does, but I like Rachel Maddow. And but we tend to gravitate towards the opinions, if you will, that we really support. And we need more, well, having worked in it, I'll say it, we need more communication. We just need to communicate better with one another. And it has to come from all levels of people. That's what I think, anyway.
Oh, well said. Couldn't agree with you more. And I think instead of picking our camps and doing all these other things, that actually doesn't matter to the hungry child. So you're totally right.
Yep. Now, do you need more volunteers, Rob?
We have about 1,000 volunteers a year, and some of those are long time, been there for 10 years and come every Friday, and others come one time only for a couple hours. And so it's a real eclectic mix, and we're always looking for new volunteers, and
Great.
can really help.
Great. Well, I'm glad you have so many volunteers. Volunteers are really such an important part of the community.
It's a huge part of who we are,
Yep.
and it's That's great.
Do you think it will be we're talking in the fall, do you think it's going to be a hard winter for a lot of folks?
Yeah, especially people that we're serving here in Chittenden County. You know, like I said, we did see an increase in visitors already, and so shelters are going to be overwhelmed. Places like ours, if we have one really bad ice storm, it could really set people back with capacity that's already overburdened in nonprofits. So yeah, it doesn't look great for people that are homeless in this area right now with a hard winter on its way.
Do you feel that some people have said, I'm not sure about this, do you feel that people are moving to Vermont to get services?
I personally don't think that. If you travel and see what's going on in other parts of the country, I would say unfortunately what we're seeing here is a small picture of what's happening nationwide. We're hoping we're not heading toward a recession, but if so, you're going to see more people in need, and agencies like ours across the country are in similar situations with being overwhelmed.
Right. I have a daughter who lives in Seattle, and she said the homeless population there is really just growing, and it's really bad.
Yeah, and if you've been to San Francisco lately, that's a big hotbed for need.
I think people sometimes don't realize cities do more than their share of helping people. And in Chittenden County, I mean, we're in Burlington, and Burlington really does such a job for the people in its area, and they have all the problems that a big city would have. And it's hard. It's hard work.
I think it's hard on the police force too, as they're heading more into social work, and I think it's difficult for all of us.
Right. You're doing a good job there. You're doing as best you can, and that's all any of us can do. And Feeding Chittenden, we don't have much time here now. Feeding Chittenden is written that it tries to combine food with community and opportunity. Why are all three needed, Rob?
Yeah, so if you look at, just take food, for example, we want to make sure those kids can concentrate in school, but we also want to increase access for food, because there are people who aren't accessing healthy products, and then that vicious cycle happens where you can't afford healthy food, you buy poor quality food, it impacts your health poorly, and then the cycle continues where you're choosing either medicine versus food. With community, we really believe we're strengthening community. If we can get more people to take advantage of food stamp program, that brings money into our area. And with opportunity, we're really looking at if people who are taking a class like Community Kitchen Academy, this opportunity to have self-esteemable moments, to have job opportunities and job readiness, to feel a part of instead of apart from, is a critical step for community building. So we really think we play a role in strengthening our community.
Well, I know that you and your volunteers and your staff work very, very hard. You're an important part of our community, and I thank you for coming, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Kay. It's an honor to talk to you.
Well, thank you, Rob, and thank you for joining us on Conversations with Kay.